You are dumb. I mean, you are so stupid. That's what I like to tell myself every day anyway. But it's not like in a bad way. It's actually a good thing. To explain what I'm going on about and to understand the strength that you have by being a real dummy sometimes, let me tell you about a little story from my first year of university. I don't have any footage of it, so it's going to be brought to you by this video's sponsor, Storyblocks, using the power of stock video. Okay, so here's me. Just pretend this is me. My face is going to be changing a lot in this story. It's my early days of university and I'm fresh out of high school. Up until this point, I've been pretty good at school, always doing okay at academic stuff. Our first batch of lectures at uni weren't too complex, basically covering just a bit more than what we'd learned at whatever schools all of the students had just come from. But then there was this test. I guess it was for the lecturers to figure out where we were all at with our knowledge, but it was meant to be taken as groups, so super casual. So I walk over to my mate's place, we chat for a bit whilst waiting for some others to turn up. I'm feeling pretty good. Then we crack on with it. We pull up the questions and oh sweet Jesus, it was bad. These guys were cranking out the answers just over and over again, just so rapidly, when I'm just sitting there, not even understanding the questions. I got this real gross feeling in the pit of my stomach, so I just slumped into the corner of the room and basically just jotted down whatever they were all saying to. And it was at this moment I realized, I am an absolute idiot. Okay, not really, but what I did realize was that I really didn't understand the topic like I thought I did. I was way too confident. And I'm just going to take a wild guess and bet that you have experienced something like that as well. You know, that feeling of, I really do not understand this. And every time I read more, I just find out there's more that I don't understand. Well, the good thing is that you're not alone. This is such a common experience that it has a bunch of overlapping ideas to explain it. And the idea that hit me the most is something called the Dunning-Kruger Effect. It's this pretty in-depth concept that was thought up by social psychologists David Dunning and Justin Kruger in 1999 at Cornell. But thankfully, over the years, it's been boiled down into an easy to understand little graph. Okay, so on the bottom is your knowledge or your experience about something, and on the side is your confidence about how knowledgeable or skilled you are at that thing. As you learn more or gain experience about something, your confidence generally follows this pattern. It's a weird looking line, but each section has a nice little name. So this peak here, this is known as the peak of Mount Stupid. It's where you're at when you do a little research or learning about something and feel pretty good about yourself. Then comes the Valley of Despair. This is that grim moment like I had at uni, when you're learning a bit more about that thing and you realize you actually don't know a lot about it. Then comes the slope of Enlightenment, when you decide, despite that horrible feeling, that you should carry on learning, and you slowly improve until you hit the plateau of sustainability. This is where you're actually pretty good, maybe even an expert at something. Dunning-Kruger put this weird shape down to something called dual burden, which means that people who know less about something literally don't know enough to even recognize that they don't know as much as they think they do. So people who know less or are less skilled about something tend to overestimate how good they are, whilst people who know more or are more experienced tend to underestimate how well they perform. And the thing is that nowadays, for a lot of subjects, most of us are right here, making a nice little home for ourselves at the peak of Mount Stupid. Because of the internet, the entirety of human knowledge is at our fingertips, but social media also makes it easier to find a nice little echo chamber where you can confidently share your opinion and have a bunch of people clap you on, no matter how right or wrong you actually are. And I bet you've read a lot of headlines of articles and just moved on. Maybe you've even chatted about the article's story after just reading that headline. I know I've done this, especially with last year with doom scrolling being a thing. So way more than we like to admit, we can get this like surface understanding of something and then just carry on hanging out on the peak of Mount Stupid without even realizing it. Most of the time, people don't get past that initial confidence that they understand something. And obviously, This can all be really bad. Like, people can feel so confident in what they know that, like, maybe they'll stop listening to experts. And some people can be pushed to extremes about ideas because they just don't fully understand them. So they might just end up doing some really stupid things. But it can also be a good thing. Or at least it can be good to know about this stuff and then take the jump down from that peak of Mount Stupid into the valley of despair. Because not knowing is literally the basis of science and innovation. Like, just look at SpaceX. When it comes to making rockets that we've never seen before, like Falcon 9 being able to land, or developing Starship for humans to get to Mars, they embrace literally learning by doing, and tweaking their designs each time. They accept that even if they think they know how something will work based on simulations and calculations, at the end of the day, they'll always find new problems. So they're diving in, finding out what they don't know and figuring out how to solve those problems. So they're making a nice little home for themselves in that valley of despair by knowing that there's a lot they don't know. So they're probably progressing faster towards actually becoming masters at what they're doing. On this channel, I look at things like innovations that are going to be making the world a better place in the future, which means that when I'm looking up a topic, there's either very little information available, or I'm personally starting from scratch every single time. Which means that I've realized that I'm in that valley of despair with basically everything. Literally making this video right here. I thought I had a good grasp on things. I figured, yeah, I could turn this into like a 5-minute video. But if you look at how long you've been watching, this isn't a 5-minute video, and I didn't understand stuff like I thought I did. So how can you use this in your life? Well, basically the way I approach stuff now is to just assume that I know nothing about something, even if I feel pretty confident at first.
Your name, Dum Dum.
Because every single time that I look up something, I end up down some other rabbit holes of other stuff that I don't understand.
Dum Dum.
Yes?
If you can just roll with that uncomfortable feeling of the valley of despair, then you can just crack on at getting better at whatever it is you're doing. And I think that if more people could just act a little bit more chilled about how expert they think they are about something, then we could probably progress and live a lot better in the future. This was a really different video to what I normally do on this channel. Basically, it was an experiment, which is always pretty tough to do on YouTube. But luckily, the sponsor of this episode, Storyblocks, had my back and basically just said, roll with this idea. Storyblocks is really supportive of the creator community, so I cannot recommend them enough. They are 100% my favorite place to get royalty-free stock footage and stock assets that I use in so much of my animations and my edits, including that summary of my uni dum-dum experience earlier. You can find stock footage and stock assets covering a ridiculous range of categories. Like, I don't know, maybe you need an axe. Yeah, Storyblocks has that. Or maybe a bison. Yep, Storyblocks has that as well. And the great thing is that it's all for a really affordable price. I'd personally recommend their unlimited plan because you get unlimited downloads of their entire library. So if you're working on a project for school or for work or even for your own YouTube channel, I reckon they're gonna have you covered. So do yourself a favor and head to storyblocks.com/Tom Carroll, or just click the link that is down below and just take a look at what they've got to offer. And thanks again, Storyblocks, for supporting me in this episode. Lastly, I want to say a massive thanks to all of my Patreon supporters as always. Your support always helps me make more of these videos. And with that, that is it for this episode. Thank you so much for watching. Embrace the dum-dum, and I will see you in the next one, my friends.